The first-class cabin of Aero Global was a sanctuary of white leather and brushed chrome. Leopold, the senior captain, walked through the cabin before takeoff. Under his uniform jacket, he wore a bold red vest and a scarlet silk tie, a violation of standard dress code that signaled his king of the skies ego. Beside him was Thaddeus, a lead steward in a bold red-trimmed waistcoat. Beatrix sat in 1A. She was a vision of power in a tailored white power suit with navy blue silk lapels. She wore a gold luxury watch and diamond stud earrings. She was quietly reviewing documents on a yellow case tablet. She had been a loyal flyer for years, but more importantly, she was a secret majority shareholder of the airline's parent company. Leopold stopped at her seat, his face instantly twisting into a realistic, unmasked expression of aggressive rage. He had a personal grudge against upgraded passengers he didn't deem worthy of first class. His nostrils flared, and a pulsing vein began to throb in his neck as he glared at her. This seat is reserved for VIPs, not for people who find lost tickets, Leopold roared, his voice filling the quiet cabin. I am a paying passenger, and I suggest you return to the cockpit, Captain, Beatrix replied, her voice remaining a calm, lethal royal blue tone. She stepped back defensively as she stood up, finding herself trapped between her seat and Leopold's massive frame. Don't tell me where to go, Leopold hissed, his eyes widening in a terrifying display of anger. He reached out with a violent, sudden motion and grabbed the lapel of Beatrix's white power suit, jerking her toward the aisle. The force caused her gold watch to strike the armrest with sharp metallic clatter. When Beatrix tried to reach for her yellow case tablet to show her digital boarding pass, Leopold's aggression turned physical. He lunged forward and delivered a heavy-handed, aggressive shove to her shoulder, slamming her back against the white leather bulkhead of the cabin. You're a security threat, Leopold snarled, his face contorted with anatomical micro-expressions of fury, his brow furrowing into deep ridges and his skin turning an uneven, mottled red. He grabbed the white silk pillow from her seat and threw it into her face, then grabbed her by the arm of her white suit and pinned her against the cabin door. Thaddeus moved in, grabbing her other wrist and twisting it slightly. The witnesses, Marius and Penelope, stood in the aisle, their phones raised, capturing the raw, unmasked fury on Leopold's face as he physically manhandled the woman. Beatrix looked into Leopold's eyes, her own filled with a cold, corporate fire. Leopold, she whispered, before this plane leaves the gate, you're going to be looking for a job as a bus driver. Leopold laughed, a jagged, ugly sound. He delivered one final, aggressive shove to her chest, pinning her against the exit door. The only thing you're grounding is yourself, girl. Get off my plane. The first-class cabin felt as though the oxygen had been sucked out of it. Leopold stood there, his bold red vest straining against his chest as he breathed in ragged, adrenaline-fueled bursts. His hand was still clenched, white-knuckled around the navy blue silk lapel of Beatrix's white power suit. He felt invincible, the king of the sky, exerting his will over a passenger he deemed beneath him. Thaddeus maintained a painful, aggressive grip on Beatrix's other arm, his face a mirror of Leopold's sneering contempt. Call security, Leopold grunted, his nostrils flared and the pulsing vein in his neck throbbing with the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Tell them we have a non-compliant passenger who needs to be physically removed. I want her in handcuffs before we push back. Beatrix didn't scream. She didn't struggle. With a calm that was more terrifying than any shout, she reached into the pocket of her white blazer and pulled out a thin, gold-plated satellite phone. With a single thumb press, she activated a priority line. This is Beatrix Vance, she said, her voice a low, vibrating royal blue frequency that cut through Leopold's mockery. Code Alpha. Initiate a total fleet standstill for Aero Global. Now, and send the board of directors to Gate 42. I have a justice debt that needs to be collected on the tarmac. Leopold let out a jagged, barking laugh, his unmasked expression a rage briefly flickering with disbelief. A fleet standstill? You're delusional. You think one phone call. Before he could finish, the cockpit door flew open. The co-pilot stumbled out, his face a ghostly shade of gray, staring at his tablet. Captain, stop. Look at the A cars. The FAA just received a grounding order from our parent corporation. Every Aero Global flight in the world, from London to Tokyo, just had its engines shut down. We're grounded. The entire airline is dark. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush the lungs. Leopold's grip on Beatrix's white suit went limp. The mottled red patches on his skin turned into an uneven, sickly pale. Suddenly, the cabin's entertainment screens, which usually showed flight paths, flickered to a solid royal blue. Then, the video began. It was a bold, extreme close-up of Leopold's snarling face as he physically shoved Beatrix against the white leather bulkhead. The footage, captured by the cabin's high-security cameras, played in a loop for every passenger on the plane and every employee in the terminal. The cabin door was thrown open from the outside. A team of the airline's board of directors, dressed in sharp deep navy suits, marched in, followed by 4 airport police officers. Behind them were the witnesses, Marius in his gold silk shirt and Penelope in her silver dress, their phones broadcasting the scene to a live audience of millions. Leopold Vance, the CEO said, his voice trembling with fury. You didn't just assault a passenger. You assaulted the woman who signed your paycheck for the last decade. You just cost this company $300 million in grounded flight revenue in the last 10 minutes. Beatrix stepped into Leopold's personal space, her white power suit glowing under the cabin lights. She reached out and snatched the scarlet silk tie from his neck, a final act of unmasking his arrogance. You told me to get off your plane, Leopold. But you forgot one thing. I bought the plane, and the hangar, and the runway. Leopold, in a state of aggressive panic, tried to push past the board members to escape the cabin. He was instantly intercepted. 2 police officers firmly grabbed Leopold by his arms, twisting him behind his back in a firm, painful lock. They forced him to his knees on the plush carpet. Thaddeus was grabbed by his bold red-trimmed waistcoat and forced down beside him. Liquidate their contracts, Beatrix commanded, her voice like ice. Forfeit their pensions to pay for the justice debt of every passenger delayed today, and drag them out through the main terminal. I want the world to see what happens to a bully when he loses his wings. The police physically dragged Leopold and Thaddeus down the aisle, their shoes squeaking against the floor. They were dragged to the jet bridge and out into the crowded terminal, where thousands of delayed passengers were watching the screens. The crowd roared with jeers as the King of the Skies was hauled away in plastic zip ties. In a final act of liquidation, Beatrix watched as Leopold's pilot wings were tossed into a green trash bin at the gate. Beatrix returned to her seat and picked up her yellow case tablet. She looked at the CEO. Restart the fleet, but send a memo to every pilot. If you can't respect the people you fly, you don't belong in my cockpit. The power was destroyed. The airline was silent, and the villain was liquidated at 30,000 feet.